Hi, my name is Christine Bowen. This class is through Aspen University, and the chapter we are working on is Object Relations and Adlerian Family Therapy. And our assignment this week was to do an emotional response journal on 3 different days. And one of the days I chose was last Monday. I had a fight with my significant other. It was caused by an exhausting opening shift. Majority of the times on Mondays, I work with people that consistently underwork in a busy pharmacy environment, and I end up picking up the slack. I had 3 papers due. I am in 3 different courses, including this one. I had 2 of them done from trying to get an assignment done for each class, but still had 1 more due, and I had to study for the mid-proctor exam the next day. And when I came home, I have a 3-year-old and she was awfully grumpy. My significant other was playing video games at the time, and our Great Dane 9-month-old puppy has not fully learned potty training yet, which meant that there was poop to clean up. Now, when I think about fighting, I think of my parents and how when I was younger, all they did was fight about frivolous nonsense. I don't remember them ever really being happy as a child, and I don't want my little girl to think the same thing about myself and her father. And I was so irritated from just the little things that added up throughout the day that I ended up blowing up. I ended up shutting down completely and not talking at all. Because when Piper comes into the room, I don't want to discuss things like that in front of her, and I had informed him that I don't want to discuss it with her here, and there was no longer a point talking about it, since we both thought that we were right and the other was wrong. And the biggest points of the fight were that I'm at work all day and I come home to messes, our child not getting proper stimulation, or the dog's not being taken care of to my standards. I have very high standards, and I'm a bit of a control freak. And it's not just at home, it's at work too. And I find myself getting mostly angry when I come home from work, and I'm overwhelmed by the amount of work that I have to do each and every day, and that isn't done by someone that stays home all day. Now on Friday, I worked another opening shift, and typically I work a late shift on Fridays, and this past Friday I was scheduled to open, and I had not slept all week since the fight that I had with my significant other wasn't really resolved. And stress and sadness are the most common emotions that I feel throughout a daily basis, and that this day was one of those. On top of that, I wasn't feeling very well. I have a chronic illness that I conceal well for the most part, but on this day, I had to run to the bathroom throughout most of the day, and that morning I was already putting up a very large drug order, and I think the weight of the week just didn't help, and that added on to the stress and anxiety I was already feeling. And the selfishness that goes on at work, not everyone, but there are a few, majority, that they don't really care how the day goes, and they don't make a lot of attempts to be a selfless person. And after I came back from going to the bathroom, I told the pharmacist and the other coworker I was not feeling well. I was going to stay and get the opening assignments done, but I needed to try and take it easy, as I know that if I don't prevent the issue in the beginning, it usually ends up being a few-day thing. Instead, the coworker, he took it easy, while I had to slowly move back and forth from waiting on people multiple spots because there's not a lot of people scheduled in the mornings. And I'm sure a lot of the patients I waited on felt that I wasn't being very friendly. The anxiety and sadness that I had been feeling were then replaced with anger. And I only really felt anger when I was younger, when my siblings either put me down or people at school would say something bad about my family. I don't typically like bad-mouthing in general. And I've always been sick. I was diagnosed with acid reflux and vomited every day when I was in the 5th grade. And I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome when I was 15. I watched my mother lay on the ground like she was dying when I was around 5 to 7 because she had been diagnosed with Crohn's disease. I'm terrified that I'm going to have Crohn's disease, and the flare-ups that I have been getting are worse the older I get, and no one really seems to care. My father used to tell me to suck it up, that it was all in my head, and I'm always put into a position, work or school, where I end up doing the majority of the work because others slack, and the buttons that are pressed in this situation are inconsistency and laziness. And on Saturday, my significant other, his cousin and wife had a baby shower, and my best friend for the last 15 years showed up. It was incredibly awkward. We had a falling out since I ended up staying with my boyfriend. Been together for 7 years. We have a child, and she was upset because we had a fight one night, and I'm not going to go into the entire story, but we worked it out. I ended up overreacting. I have a lot on my plate, and she never even told me that she was upset with me for the whole entire situation, and just pretty much stopped talking to me. It's probably been about 5 months since I've even seen her. We used to see each other at least once a month, and in this situation, the anxiety and sadness return. And Piper, my soon-to-be 3-year-old, was incredibly embarrassing the entire time we were there, throwing tantrums in front of a bunch of people I don't know, and also my boyfriend's family. It wasn't her fault. She skipped nap time. She wanted to play outside, and it had been raining cold out all day. And people kept making comments about her attitude and how she must not like them anymore. And we ended up leaving shortly after. We were probably there only about an hour. When we got home, I got so many cuddles from my little Piper that I actually let her sleep with me because she's my light. And this immediately relieved everything that happened during the week. I let it all go and just laid content. She's a beautiful, happy, healthy child. Those are things that I am truly grateful for. Maddie's the only friend that I have stayed friends with longer than a year before they get bored or fed up with me. And I know that I have high standards, but I do put up with a lot, and I try incredibly hard to be openly honest so that I don't offend people. And I've always been honest with her on the important things, but I've let her figure out different decisions on her own. And we've been pretty good friends. If we've stayed friends for 15 years, and her not talking to me is a pretty heart-wrenching situation, since she's practically making me choose her or the guy I've been with for 7 years. And my mother, she used to make comments when we were younger that we didn't like or love her anymore if we even showed signs of being upset with her. And it was like having feelings outside of happiness were invalid. When other people make those comments, I tend to believe. I don't want people teaching Piper that. And as she grows, the cuddles and hugs aren't as frequent, and she's curious, she wants to learn more things. She's not as focused on being dependent on me anymore. So when she gives me a hug and a kiss goodbye or goodnight, it makes the world absolutely fade away. I've never loved anyone more than my little monster, and I can't say I have any memories that remind me of my childhood with this specific emotion, but I can definitely say I have a button for emotional distress that people attempt to push on me or try to create for my child. But when I have moments like we did Saturday night, those are what make my entire life feel worth living. Thanks for watching.